Hi, in this video we're going to offer you some practical advice on how to replace your vehicle's rear brake pads and discs. Braking components differ between vehicle manufacturers. If you're unsure, you should consult your owner's manual. Remember, the braking system is a critical safety component of your vehicle. If you're unsure of your capabilities, you should delegate the task to an expert.
For this we will need replacement rear discs and pads, brake caliper piston wind back tool, wheel brace, sockets, extension bar, ratchet, brake cleaner, brake component grease, penetrating oil, axle stands and trolley jack. Put a reminder behind the steering wheel to pump the brakes. Remove the brake fluid reservoir cap and place it on some clean rag. New braking components should be replaced in pairs on the same axle. Remove the wheel trim and slacken the wheel studs while the vehicle is on the ground. Raise and support the vehicle. Remember, never get underneath an unsupported vehicle. Once the vehicle is supported, remove the road wheel. I always leave the road wheel under the vehicle as a secondary support device. Make sure the vehicle's handbrake is disengaged. On some vehicles, the rear caliper also incorporates the handbrake mechanism. Wash away any brake dust using brake cleaner. Undo and remove the brake caliper securing bolts. Use an old screwdriver to prise the caliper off the brake pads. Make sure the flexible brake hose is supported, in this instance by the handbrake cable. It's now possible to remove the brake pads. Sometimes the pads can be stuck in the carrier. Use an old screwdriver to prise them off. It is the friction material that wears down over time. The surface area of the friction material can provide an indication that the brake disc needs to be replaced. In this case, the surface area has worn unevenly. This vehicle's brake disc needs to be replaced. Next, remove the brake pad carrier bracket. The securing bolts can be tight. Use a hammer to ensure that the Allen key socket is located squarely in the head of the bolt. Once the bolts have been removed, place the bracket to one side. It's now possible to remove the brake disc. Corrosion will cause the brake disc to stick to the face of the hub. If this is the case, use a hammer to shock the brake disc, remembering to screw 2 wheel studs into the hub to stop the disc falling to the floor or on your foot. Use safety glasses when using a hammer. Once the brake disc is free, remove the studs and remove the old brake disc. Brake discs are made of cast iron. They wear over time and become thinner. The manufacturer of a vehicle will specify the minimum thickness of a brake disc. Use penetrating oil to prevent the piston dust rubber from tearing. The rear caliper also incorporates the handbrake assembly. The caliper piston needs to be screwed back into the caliper housing using the caliper piston wind back tool. Select the correct disc, screw the piston back into the housing until it stops. The piston should be flush with the housing. Check the brake fluid reservoir. If any fluid has been spilt, wash it away with water. Over time, rust and dirt builds up on the areas where the brake disc is mounted. This should be removed using a wire brush. Next task is to clean the brake pad carrier bracket. Over time, rust and dirt builds up on the areas where the brake pad is mounted. This should be removed using a wire brush to ensure the new brake pads slide freely on the carrier. Sticking brake pads can affect the vehicle's braking performance and wear braking components prematurely. Make sure the caliper slide pins move freely. Now we can fit the new rear disc. Refer to the brake disc manufacturer documentation. Some discs are coated with an oily substance to prevent corrosion when in storage. These discs are not coated with an oily substance and do not require cleaning. Compare the new disc with the old disc. Make sure they're the same height, diameter, and that they have the correct number of holes. Mount the new brake disc on the hub and ensure any holes are lined up. Use 2 wheel studs to hold the disc in position. Make sure the new brake disc is sitting squarely on the hub. Next, refit the brake pad carrier bracket. Remove the rear brake pads from the packaging and compare the new brake pads with the old brake pads, and make sure that the backing plates have the same profile. You can see the difference in thickness between the old and the new brake pad friction material. Use brake pad component grease to lubricate the backing plate edges where they come into contact with the carrier bracket. Remove any protective packaging. Mount the new brake pad in the carrier, making sure the friction material is facing the disc and the pad can slide freely in the carrier bracket. Place the caliper over the pads and ensure any retaining clips are located correctly. Refit the new securing bolts. Recheck that you have tightened all of the securing bolts and the securing clips are located correctly. Remove the wheel studs. Mount the road wheel and secure it. Lower the vehicle to the ground, recheck the wheel studs and refit the wheel trim. Move on to the other side of the vehicle and repeat the procedure. Once you've completed both sides, gently depress the brake pedal to close the gap between the brake caliper piston and the new brake pads. Apply the handbrake several times to adjust the handbrake travel. Check the brake fluid level and refit the reservoir cap. Dispose of any worn components responsibly.
So there you have it. That's how you replace your vehicle's rear brake pads and discs. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Please check out our other videos.